3M seems to kind of have their hands in every pot over here.
Their heads in a lot of pots.
Yeah, they're getting
Definitely.
hit
They
back
got
to
the
back.
earplugs. They've got the bear huggers. They make our nice little stickies. Luckily, nobody's been killed by the stickies lately, but everything else seems pretty dangerous.
Well, how the hell are they like staying in business? I mean, someone's got to be like, come on, guys, like you gotta clean something up here one of these days. Prioritizing profits. Prioritizing
Dangerous drug and product cases.
Welcome back, everyone. Another episode of Prioritizing Profits, Dangerous Drug and Product Cases. Took a week off. Crazy week for me, but excited to finally be back. I heard some people were looking for updates, which I was a little surprised about.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. Well, I mean, it was, quite the teaser you gave last time about what was going to be going down in the monkey world. And I know some of it, maybe not all of it, but I think you were a little, I wouldn't say anxious, you're excited about it. But you didn't know how it was going to turn out. And then apparently some crazy good things happened, and then maybe some issues as well, which it sounds like have all resolved. But that being said, we would love to hear the details because I know it was a very exciting time.
It was. It was a very eventful week. I was surprised that people were interested in NFTs. I feel like it's a very hit or miss thing. Sometimes when I start talking about it, you can tell they just kind of check out for a second. But this week was crazy. It was crazy. So it all started on Tuesday. And keep in mind, we've been working on this 9 or 10 months.
Yeah,
and
it's a long time.
A long time. Very long time. All unpaid as well.
Well, and wasn't it even, you had started to working on it, and then I guess the project, it wasn't approved, or
it's because it's a DAO, the community has to vote on it. So when we were working on it, we weren't even sure if it was going to get voted or passed.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking.
Yeah, if it gets shot down, then, we can't pursue it. But at the same time, it's not going to pass unless it looks good, unless you can convince them and kind of show them at least a prototype of what the collection's going to look like. So 9 or 10 months, and then we just get a portion of the proceeds if it's successful. So that's really kind of the whole motivation there, or it's supposed to be incentivization.
But let's be honest, you're not in this for the money.
No.
It's a passion project, I think, because, the reality is from the start, you knew you might not ever get paid anything, right?
Yeah. No, it was definitely a little bit of a coin toss, but this last week was pretty nuts. So I'm the spokesperson for the project, which means I'm going on a lot of spaces throughout the week. And for anyone that's unfamiliar with Twitter Spaces, it's essentially like a live podcast just on Twitter. Someone can host a spaces and people can join in. You can get invited up to speak. If people have questions, they can request to speak and you can bring them up. And so I've done those a lot, but this has been where it's more of like a campaign tour. I'm going across to a bunch of different communities, a lot of different spaces and talking and spreading the good word of the Monkey Project.
So you have like a stump speech, as they call them?
Yeah, well, I do have kind of like a script in my head.
Yeah.
I don't like writing anything out, but a lot of time, especially after you say kind of the same rough idea of stuff several times, and you'll mix and match little analogies, yeah, and just like little phrases. Ben-isms, yeah.
I know a few of those. I might have listened to a few spaces here and there.
Yeah, so for the 15K, it's a 15K collection, a little recap, 15K collection. We already have 5,000 NFTs, and the first phase started on Tuesday.
And just back up, just because I know some people don't know. So when you say a 15K collection, you mean that there are 15,000 pieces of artwork or monkeys.
Yes.
Is that correct?
Yeah.
So the digital
NFT.
Yes.
And it's a picture of a monkey, pixelated monkey, and the original collection called Gen 2. Generation 2, which I don't even want to get into why it's Gen 2, Gen 1. It's a long story, but...
Okay, well, it kind of makes sense. It's the second generation. I'm assuming like the children of the
something like that.
monkeys.
Yeah, so the original collection is Gen 2. It's 5,000 NFTs. Each one's a monkey picture, and they've been one of the top projects on Solana for a while. We have. And at some points, the minimum price is called floor price. So it's a minimum price that you can buy one at. It's been up to like 30 or 50K. And it currently holds the highest, or the highest sale of an NFT, that collection, which was a Skelly King. It's like a skeleton monkey and had a king's crown. It looks sick. It was the best one in the collection. Sold for $2.3 million.
What?
Yeah.
Who the heck bought that?
So I actually met the guy that bought it. He works for a project called Orca, which is a crypto DeFi kind of project exchange partially. And it was a group of people that all kind of pooled money together, but one guy kind of took the credit for buying it. And so, there's a lot that comes along with kind of having that official, real biggest sale ever. There's a lot of wash trading or people buying their own stuff, but this one was a real one.
Okay.
And the second collection is 15,000, and they're also pixelated monkeys, but they're higher pixel counts, so a little bit more detail, new attributes, some from the old, and then a lot of new ones.
Okay, and I hate to keep stopping you, but
No, yeah.
just kind of from people who don't speak your language, when you say attributes, can you explain what, I mean,
Yeah.
I kind of know, but can you explain what the
No, that's a
attributes
great
are?
question. So attributes, you can think of it as like fur styles. If there's blue monkeys.
Fur styles?
Yeah, there's like the skeleton monkey, right? So he's skelly. There's alien, which is just like a very light blue. There's zombie, where it's like dark green and kind of has like some red pixels, looks like blood or something like that.
Okay.
We have a variety of other ones. We have like some legendary ones, like a demon one, has like these curly horns, looks fantastic. I'll send a few pictures to Fern so he can throw them up.
Yeah. So when you say the attributes, does that also include things like, I know some of them have like flowers,
Yeah.
or hats or sunglasses? So it's basically like I would say accessories.
Accessories, yeah, no,
Although skin, I guess, isn't an accessory, or
Yeah.
horns maybe are body parts, but so they're just the distinguishing features, maybe.
great
Is
way to
that-
describe it. Yeah, just
okay.
different aspects of it.
Okay, so it makes them individual and unique, and
Yeah.
so there's certain things that are like more exciting and special than
Exactly.
others, or I guess because you use the term rarity a lot, so
Yeah.
there the things that are very rare or not many monkeys have are going to be
Worth
valuable.
more.
Okay.
Yeah. So like I was talking about the Skelly King, there's only one of those where it has the king's crown, which is why I went for so much.
Yeah.
And then there's other attributes like just normal sunglasses, and those are pretty common, so they won't go for as much. But then there's, like I said, like the legendary ones. We have an invisible cloak, which is really cool the way the artist did it. You put a cloak on, you can tell it's a cloak on the monkey, and the color of it's the same color as the background, so it kind of looks like he's fading into the background.
Oh, that's cool.
And then those like rarity, there's just not as many of them. There's maybe 50, 60 in the collection, which is very few out of 15,000.
Yeah. Okay.
And so, and Solana and overall crypto's kind of been in a bear market recently. Things aren't going well. Prices are going down. The vibes haven't been great. And we needed to release this month because we owe $2 million by July 14th.
Woo,
Yeah.
it's a little tight.
It's a little tight.
Well, and especially because there was a big delay, right? Because initially, I guess I don't remember the details of it, but it didn't get passed to go forward the first time around, and then it did. So yeah, you're on a bit more of a tight schedule.
Exactly. We had to change up the proposal, and then it finally got passed, and they're like, okay, now we can buckle down and start working on it, or really give it our all, at least. And with the crypto market not being great, there's not many new projects coming out, and a lot of the established ones just aren't doing as well.
Yeah.
And in order to pay for that $2 million bill, we had to make the price pretty expensive, comparatively at least to like other mints, and a mint is like a new collection coming out and buying.
Releasing a new.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So it was pretty expensive. Solana, easiest. I mean, it fluctuates like 15 to 20, but you can just kind of assume for 20 for math reasons here. One Solana is $20. And so there's 3 phases of it. The original Gen 2 collection, there's 5,000 of them. For each Gen 2, they got one Gen 3. And they paid 12 SOL for that, so $240. And then there was the private sale, which was 14 SOL, and that was 1,000 supply, and that went to our own community members again. If people really liked it and they wanted to get 2 or 3 on top of the one they already were promised, then they could do that there. And that was going for 14 SOL, so $280, I think, something like that. Yeah, $280. And then the big one, which was the one we were really worried about, it was a public raffle, and that was for anyone to participate, but it was also the most expensive.
Right.
And that was 4,000 supply, and the price was 19.9 SOL plus a 0.1 non-refundable fee. And so the way that the raffle works is that you can pay to buy a ticket, and it's 20 SOL essentially, but 0.1 of that's non-refundable. And if you lose and you don't get one, then you just get that 19.9 sent back to you.
Okay.
But if you win, then you get the NFT instead. And so we were really worried because it is expensive. I mean, 20 Sol, that's a lot of $400 for one picture of a monkey.
Well, but they're really cool value.
They're cool, and the community gives you access to the
Yeah,
community.
there's a lot
and
more
connection.
to it than just the picture.
There is. But I think from an outside perspective, it's like, that's nuts. And
Well, the general public.
Yeah.
Although there's probably a lot of the general public that would like to have a monkey that just hasn't, I mean, it's a limited commodity. And when new monkeys are going to be released, I mean, I'm sure there was a certain buzz and certain excitement
Yeah.
for that. Yeah.
Well, and so there's a lot of hesitation. Even some of our partners were trying to convince us, like, guys, there's not enough money in the ecosystem right now. People are not buying NFTs. 4,000, that's a lot. You guys are going to struggle to sell out, but we had to because we had that bill due July 14th.
Make or break.
Make or break. We got to do it. And so I went on a massive Spaces escapade. I mean, it was every single day I would go on a few. On Wednesday, the day before, I was on 5 hours of Spaces just back to back talking about the project, trying to get people excited about it, explaining what we're about, and just trying to spread the good word, like I said. And then Thursday came around, raffle opens up, we sell 4,000 tickets in 15 minutes. Which just blew our expectations out the water. Like, we were just praying that we would sell 4,000 tickets, because if we didn't, then we're completely screwed. Everything, the team's fucked, because everyone's like, why the hell are you doing this? The brand loses a lot of, I don't know, validity or kind of reputation,
Credibility.
Credibility.
But so if you didn't sell them and you couldn't make that payment, what was going to happen?
We weren't going to be able to buy the IP, and we were going to default on our loan or on our initial payment. So I think we would have lost out on the $1 million that we already put down on it.
So, yeah. Okay.
It was bad. Yeah, it was going to be bad. It was going to be bad. But we sold.
Right, so in 15 minutes,
15
all
minutes.
4,000.
Yeah.
And so so there are 4,000 available, but these are raffle tickets for the 4,000.
Yeah.
So if only 4,000 were sold, then everybody who got a ticket got a monkey.
Yeah. And as more tickets are sold, the odds, obviously,
Right.
of each ticket winning one goes down. And so we were like so relieved. I mean, 15 minutes, 4,000. Okay.
Phew,
Like,
okay.
at least we sold
Home
out.
free, yeah.
Yeah. And so we were like figuring out, I think it's going to go 15K, 10K. I was thinking if we got 20, that would be insane. 20,000 tickets. That's nuts. And keep in mind, that's 20,000 times 20 Sol. And that's like money just going in. We hit 20K. I went to bed feeling good. Woke up, it was 37K. I was like, holy fuck. And then it was open for a full 24 hours, which was 11 a.m. our time to 11 a.m. the next day. And then the last few hours just went insane. We opened up a Spaces, and I was talking. We had 900 people on the Spaces listening, and we were doing countdown, and we ended up selling 80K tickets, which is an absurd amount of Solana. This is over $35 million in one wallet of liquidity that no one thought was there. No one thought we were even going to sell out. And then all of a sudden, $35 million comes out. People are going through their couch cushions trying to find all the Solana they
I'm
can.
a little skeptical about that.
Yeah, and then over 1 million Solana. I think it was the 0.325% of circulating Solana was in that raffle, which I know like it sounds like a small percentage, but in terms of crypto, it's insane.
Yeah. I mean, of all of the basic crypto money that's
Yeah.
out there, I mean, that's crazy.
Yeah, and so it broke records throughout Solana, throughout just in the general ecosystem. Everyone was talking about it. No one, again, like I said, there's a lot of people that were like, "Oh, I'm excited about it." A lot of people didn't think it would do well, and then it went absolutely insane. It brought all this new money, all these new players, just new community members in. We had a Spaces for 900 people, and then we had to refund the money. And this is where everyone was pretty nervous because they're like, Jesus Christ, one entity has $35 million in their wallet. They could
It's
go
basically
buy.
not theirs because if you don't get the monkey, you only get to keep the money for 4,000
Exactly,
of them, not
exactly.
the other 76,000.
Which was like 1.6 million or something like that. So we had, over $30 million that we needed to refund.
Money.
Yeah.
That's really scary stuff. Yeah.
So we needed to refund that, and we were hoping to get it out in an hour because people get really nervous about it. And so I was on the Spaces talking, and we were just talking about random stuff, excitement. There's so many people coming up, giving their like, "Oh, congratulations, the team killed it." And this is a team of 5 people as well. So I'm one of 5 people that made this entire project. along with the help of a lot of other people
Right,
as well.
right,
But
right,
that was
right.
kind of like the core
But you
team.
were like the five on the hook kind of for
Yeah,
it. So like if
exactly.
the shit hit the fan and it was a big failure, you five are going to get looked at.
Yep.
So you also get all of the kudos and
Yeah.
the pats on the back and everything.
Yeah, and since I'm a spokesperson, I'm actually talking to the people that are usually either really angry or really happy, excited, whatever it is. And so we were trying to get the refunds out within the next hour, but we didn't expect 80,000 tickets. It was tens of thousands of wallets, millions and millions of dollars. Trying to get all that out in an hour. I mean, even for a Web 2 massive company, that's incredibly hard, if not impossible.
Yeah, I can't imagine.
So there was a bunch of issues going on in the back end, but we didn't want to end the spaces because then everyone's gonna be like, "Where these guys is like, where are they going?" They're not talking, they're not here. Everyone gets a little nervous, cold feet.
So Benny just had to keep talking,
Yeah.
until they went through.
They keep talking. The team was panic on the back end, trying to figure everything
You
out.
were cool as a cucumber, I will say, because I was listening.
Yeah. So, and I was just pulling stuff out of my ass. I was bringing people up, asking questions. Ended up the spaces. It took 6 hours for the refunds to go out. And the entire 6 hours, I was hosting the spaces, talking to people, bringing people up. It was exhausting.
Knocking people off the ledge,
Yeah.
keeping them calm, keeping them cool. And there were some pretty intense questions too. Yeah, I mean, and just from what I heard.
Yeah, and I mean that's kind of the fun part of it too, is you don't know what people are going to ask, you don't know what you're going to talk about, and so sometimes you'll get questions that you don't expect, or the answer isn't something that you're really, you have to phrase it in a way because it's not a very good answer, or not something a lot of people want to hear. Can't really.
No,
think
you
of
got to
it.
give bad news or news about delays.
Exactly.
But it all did get refunded then,
Yep.
and so that part, whew,
Yeah, all that got refunded, and then they're called mint barrels because they're unrevealed, and then you'll be able to crack open your barrel to get the monkey inside, like a monkey in a barrel.
yeah. I think you talked about that a little bit the last time, and it sounded really kind of cool because it kind of like delays the gratification.
Yeah.
Well, first of all, there's the excitement that out of 80,000 people trying to buy them, that you got a barrel,
Yeah.
so you got a monkey, but you still don't know what the monkey looks like or what the attributes are, whether it's a really great monkey or a more average kind of run-of-the-mill
Yeah.
monkey. And so then the second big excitement is when you get to crack the barrel open.
Yeah, exactly. And so the raffle ended Friday, did 5 hours of spaces, and then I came up here. We had a little bit of a staycation kind of celebratory right before my birthday as well. And then Monday, July 3rd, we're supposed to be able to crack open the barrels. And we've been working with this team for a long time to kind of get it set up, completely random. When you crack it open, it could be very every day of, the mill, like you said.
Run-of-the-mill monkey,
Yeah,
yeah.
run-of-the-mill.
But all monkeys are pretty cool, right?
Yeah. I mean, they all look good, but there's some that just look great.
Yeah.
Or you could get a legendary, and those legendaries are just going to be worth a lot more. We learned it was 6 hours before the reveal, and the team that was handling it contacted me. Was like, "We got a problem."
Well, and this is kind of leading up to this too. So this was your birthday weekend. You were doing a staycation down here in Tucson, and I think I didn't realize how dramatic this was, but that you were looking at this either as being, if you guys didn't sell the 4,000, you were going to be kind of like a, recuperate
Oh,
and
yeah.
devastation weekend,
Licking our wounds.
licking your wounds weekend. But then you came off on this whole high where 80,000, so it was like this big celebratory weekend.
Yeah.
And then we got to celebrate with you guys Sunday night. We had a fabulous dinner, still on this total high. And then the next morning, I heard things a little different.
Yeah.
So between the end of dinner,
Well, so it was at dinner, and I was getting a lot of Discord messages. I was looking out, and people were hopping on calls, and they said there was some bad stuff going on.
Oh, my
but they were in a call, so they weren't like actually saying it in the chat. And then I got back to the hotel room, and me and Christine were going to watch a movie. And we're going to relax. And I was like, "Oh, hold on one second. Let me just hop on a call. Let me see what's going on." Hop on a call. Everyone is super just gloom and doom, and they're freaking out a little bit. And they found out that if someone had enough resources, they could find a way to know which monkeys were coming out before you unbox it. So they'd be able to kind of snipe all the rare ones. They would be able to hold off, buy a bunch of barrels, and wait until they know that a really good one's going to be next, and then they would crack it open and get that.
oh, so the barrels don't have anything in them when you
Yeah.
get them.
Yeah.
then the monkeys appear when you were ready to crack them open. Oh,
Exactly. So
I
there's
didn't get that. Okay.
there's no monkey actually attached to the barrel. It's
Right.
not
You
actually
just have
in
a
there.
barrel and the monkeys come later.
Yeah, exactly. And so
Okay.
every barrel, as soon as you open it, it's just completely random. There's no like
Yeah,
direct
yeah, yeah.
correlation there. And so that's massive. I mean, if one person can individually make sure they get all of the very valuable, rare, good looking ones, it is a terrible experience for everyone
Oh,
else.
yeah, yeah.
And they thought it was extremely unlikely but possible. And then over the course of like 3 to 4 hours of being on this call, going back and forth, reaching out to different teams, we found out that it actually had already happened. It had happened before, and they weren't aware of it, and which means that someone had already written the code. They'd already kind of had this entire setup where if they wanted to do it, then they could. And if there's any collection that's going to have it be done too, it's ours.
Oh, so they didn't specifically write it for this monkey barrel cracking
Yeah.
thing. It was just a program that they wrote that would apply to any kind of reveal like
Yeah,
this.
yeah, exactly.
Ah, okay, all right, all right.
And,
I'm learning so much more about it.
Yeah, and so other projects have had this type of reveal process.
Okay, okay, okay.
Where they have a unrevealed NFT, and then you crack it open or you open it, whatever it is, and then this completely random NFT comes out of it. And so over the course of like 3 to 4 hours, I mean, it's like 2, 3 a.m. my time. It's 6 a.m. some other people. We have the reveal in like 4 hours. We've been hyping it up for months, all that entire week. That's my big speaking point. July 3rd, you're going to be able to crack open your barrel and see it. And we have to put out an announcement. We got to postpone it. We found out that there's this bug. There's a lot of people absolutely pissed. There's a lot of people that are understanding. I mean, they don't want to kind of have that happen, right? They don't want their rares to be stolen. So then we have to go onto this massive like PR licking our wounds situation where it's like, hey guys, like I know this sucks, but half glass half full. We found it before it happened, and I'm the one having to say this, which is why
I know, again.
I was even more frustrated with the team that let this happen because they've been aware of it for a while. They just didn't want to deal
You
with
had
it.
no idea that.
They didn't tell us until
Yeah,
hours
yeah.
before, and it was like I even said in the call, it's like how you guys knew about this and you're choosing hours before the reveal to let us know. Like this is insane. They got paid like over 100 grand, 200 grand for this entire thing. So I mean, they're they got to be doing a good job. So then we get postpone it, and they're figuring it out. And this upcoming Friday, which is in 2 days, is going to be the big reveal.
Okay, so everything's fixed.
Yeah, we're good.
And everything, yeah, yeah. Well, I mean, I was listening on, so I guess it was Monkey Mondays where you guys were really, again, talking people off the ledge,
Yeah.
and because I mean, again, it's another scary thing. Are there? I don't know. Are there rare monkeys going to get sniped or something
Yeah.
like that? And did they? I mean, that's kind of fraudulent, right? I mean, they put their money in,
yeah.
assuming that this is going to be completely random and that they have just as much chance as everybody else, and then they're not. So it was pretty dramatic,
Yeah.
pretty intense for sure. But it sounded like it was handled really well. And I mean, the good thing is that you guys were very honest and forthright about it as soon as you knew. You took the right steps and you said, hey, I mean, it's a disappointment to delay it, but this is what's going to be fair. This is what's going to be equitable, ethical, all of those things. So, and you guys are all confident now that at this point it's going to be completely random, unbiased.
Yeah. I mean, we're definitely feeling good about it. Monday was supposed to be this, like we marketed as like this is the reveal party. Come hang out with us. Come crack open your barrels. And then hours before we'd be like, all right, guys, sorry, this is actually a talk down the ledge spaces.
Okay, party's going to be delayed. So
Yeah.
then when is the real party now?
It's going to be this Friday, 9:30 our time, and then that's going to be during our town hall where it's essentially the entire community kind of hops in Discord, and we're going to kind of do a little mini party there. And then after 30 minutes, once 10 hits, we're going to go into a Spaces, another thing that I'm hosting, and bring up people from the community. Everyone gets to share their monkey, the rare that they got, the non-rare, whatever it is.
Yeah.
And kind of have this big celebratory thing, which we're feeling really good about. Right now, everything's on track. But last time we were too, until a few hours before. So I'm holding my breath a little bit, not getting too excited. I want to make sure we get past it and then.
Yeah. Well, I mean, the good thing, and if there is another delay, it would only be because you guys are trying to absolutely ensure the security and the integrity of the whole process. So, but it sounds like that's all been cleaned up. And so you have how many You have two.
I have 3 barrels total.
Okay.
Which is kind of unfortunate because we spent 10 months working on this project. I only get 3 monkeys. It's tough stuff. But
So, but I mean, it kind of also goes to show that the lottery situation is fair. I mean, if you, as spokes monkey, one of the 5 team members had like 30 barrels, that might look suspicious.
well, and there's been projects that do that. They give themselves 50 or 100, or they pay influencers or marketers, whatever, in those NFTs, and then they talk it up, make sure it does really well, and then dumps all of them onto the market and lowers the price, but they make a bag from it, and so it's a really bad look.
Yeah.
And we obviously didn't want that to happen.
Yeah. No bad looks.
No bad looks.
All right. Well, this is exciting.
Yeah.
Again.
Overall, good success. I mean, it was
Well, a huge success. I mean, just the fact that, that the excitement was there, the passion was there, the commitment. And I guess, when you were talking about the fact that people were saying, the naysayers were saying, oh, there's not even that much money in Solana and everything. I mean, where did all of this come from? Were people cashing out, say Ethereum, or are there other, what were they doing to?
Oh, actually, funny thing I totally forgot to mention too is the morning that the raffle opened up, Solana pumped 10%. Which means people were either switching over from other cryptos to buy Solana.
Oh, so the amount of Solana owned just went up. So
More
people
people
were
are
buying
buying it.
Solana so that they could buy the monkeys.
Exactly. And
Wow.
and then the second day, once we started overnight, once we broke 50K, 60K, 70K, and it was going into the last hours, I think Solana pumped 30 to 40% over a 24-hour period. And everyone was like, the only explanation for this is the $35 million going into this one project.
I mean, see, you could get rid of the bear market. You could end the bear market, the monkeys.
That's what we were saying.
Single-tailedly. I don't know about single.
That's why I was going on Spaces joking around. I was like, guys, you're welcome. We pumped your bags 30%. You don't even have to buy a monkey, and you're still making a little money here.
Everybody shares the love.
Yeah.
Wow, the monkey love.
Exactly. So we'll see how it goes. Hopefully I get a rare. I'm excited about it. I'm saving a little bit of funds to pick some up off secondary if I get unlucky. But overall, massive success. For me personally, it's been a really long journey being in crypto and NFTs for over a year now. This has been, working on a project like this of this size with this amount of success has been, only a dream at this point. So this week definitely has been a little bit surreal, and especially the fact that I get to be on these spaces. And I know, I'm representing a lot of people that worked on this, but there's people that are saying it, to me essentially, right? The team, congratulations, team of 5 that I'm a member of. So.
No, I've heard a lot of that. I mean, major kudos and a lot of shout outs for Benny.
Yeah. No, it's been good. It's been good. But we should probably get onto
Legal stuff?
legal stuff.
Okay. Well, we will just say that next time we will, again, talk about this a little bit so that we can hear about the unveiling that hopefully, or the barrel breaking that hopefully will actually be happening on Friday. So very exciting. Cool. All right. So we're up to date on that.
And then interesting cases in the news. We always kick off with this, which is it's my favorite part because I feel like that's just the most absurd or relatable stuff comes from.
Yeah. Well, so this one, I don't know if it's so absurd, but it's really terrifying. And a lot of people have probably seen this because there was a video that's all over YouTube and the news stations and everything. But there was this crazy, horrifying accident that happened actually at a amusement park in Mexico, where a 6-year-old boy was on a zip line. Mm-hmm. And have you seen these videos?
No, not at all.
Oh my gosh, it's so horrifying. And you've been on zip lines. I actually happen to know that. I've put you on zip lines, which I'm starting to regret. Anyway, so he's on the zip line, and you can see on the video he's with an adult, and at one point he just drops and fell 40 feet. Yeah, so apparently the harness broke, and he dropped 40 feet,
Jesus.
And it was, luckily, thank God, it was into a body of water.
Wow.
However, he's 6 years old. It was this, and so somebody had to jump in and try to save him. That person, it looked like apparently they were both going to drown. Some other people had to dive in and save them. They rescued the kid. He's okay, but holy crap, how scary is that? And so, of course, because this is hot in the news and everything, all of these other stories are coming out about other similar similar accidents with zip lines. And it's really terrifying. I'm very afraid of heights to start with.
Oh, me too.
But I've been like kind of peer pressured, and I've done it a couple of times. One of which when we were in Maui one time, I don't know if you recall that.
Yeah.
We did a zip line, and I mean, I was terrified. You really wanted to do it. And then we were with Val and JP, and they were all great about it. But I mean, I remember just being absolutely terrified when I finally let go and went with it.
Yeah, well, that one wasn't like super high. I've seen videos of like them going through the Amazon forest, and it's
Yeah.
hundreds of feet in the air, 40, 50, some insane.
Yeah.
Those are crazy.
Well, and that's this thing. I think,
Yeah.
as a matter of fact, I think it was something. The name of the resort was something about Amazon or something. But yeah, I mean, it was. Yeah, I mean, crazy. Yeah, Park Amazonia is the name of the place. And actually, when Peter and I were traveling a few years ago, we were in Costa Rica, and there was a zip line event that we went to. I'm not sure. I'm sure Peter wanted to do it. He's not afraid of heights, but it was completely different, and it was probably similar to this. But what it was it was like 7 or 8 zip lines, and basically one would go to this like tree stand where there's a platform, and then you would go from that one to another zip
Yeah.
line, and so it was like this whole process before you got down to the bottom of the mountain. And I was actually a little bit less scared on that one because there were so many trees that you actually couldn't see the ground. And I pretty much just like closed my eyes. But and we were fine, although there was a woman. So it's like each person goes down and they all collect on that platform, and then they start the process again.
Yeah.
And when we were on the platform, a woman came down, and she came down pretty fast, and she actually hit her leg on the platform. Yeah, she didn't break her leg, but she started like kind of panicking and hyperventilating, which I would do too, because
Yeah.
it was like terrifying. And luckily, Peter kind of jumped to the rescue, and her heart was pounding, and he's so calm. He's like, "Ma'am, I'm a cardiologist. You're going to be fine.
Yeah.
Just checking your heart rate." It kind of calmed her down and everything. And so there were no major crises on that. But I have to say, after seeing this, I did kind of do a Google search and started looking at different, how many zipline accidents there are. And I'm never doing this again because there are a lot.
Yeah.
A lot. And some of like the one that like really was horrifying to me was there was one where it was a couple that were on their honeymoon, and one of the common accidents that happens is that if somebody gets stuck or is still on the zip line and they send another person down, they can crash into each other.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, and actually, before I get to the horrible story, there was one that was a little bit more amusing where there was a sloth on the zip line, and a kid actually hit the sloth.
Jesus
but
Christ.
apparently, sloth and child survived that one without injury. But
I don't know how the sloth doesn't take some big hits there. I mean, full speed kid, unless it's a toddler. If he's 8 or 9, he's got some big weight behind him. The sloth's just hanging out. That's not a fast creature. That's not a durable one either. Full speed slam into that, I could imagine just limbs flying off.
well, luckily in that case there were not. But it's kind of weird too. Like, I mean, this is in the middle of these jungles. I mean, wouldn't a sloth prefer like a nice tree branch to kind of, because they hang there and they sleep, right?
Yeah.
I mean, they're like slovenly sloth.
They've got a lot of options.
Right, and then they pick this like metal, cable that
Yeah.
the obnoxious humans, tourists, are flying down at ridiculous speeds. I mean, it seems like a really poor choice. Maybe we're reading out.
I mean, that's natural selection at that point. That sloth probably had to get a quick wake-up call. He wasn't going to last much longer otherwise.
You don't want that sloth procreating.
Yeah, exactly.
We don't know the rapes. Anyway, so the horrible story, though, with the collision was there was a couple who was on their honeymoon, and the woman had gone down, and she got stuck, and the operator didn't realize that and sent the husband down,
Oh
and
my
they slammed
God.
into each other. Well, and I guess it doesn't seem like you go that fast, but I guess you do. And they both were seriously injured and had to be taken to the hospital, but the husband ended up dying from his injuries.
Jesus Christ.
Yeah, yeah. So I mean, here you are on your honeymoon, and it's just
Well, and I mean, it's like one thing where, a significant other dying is obviously always a terrible thing, but to have it where an impact, like you two hitting each other, right? It's like it's not your fault, but you being there is kind of the cause of it, right?
Yeah.
That must have some emotional damage just alone there.
Yeah, I cannot even imagine. And there was another, actually, just the week before in Colorado, there was another collision with actually three people, a 21-year-old, a 10-year-old, and a 8-year-old.
Jesus Christ.
Yeah, and and in that one, the adult and one of the children were in critical condition.
They're just throwing them down the line back to back, not even taking a look, no precautions, just.
Yeah, I mean, in that one, they were specifically saying that there was apparently a miscommunication regarding whether or not the zip line had been cleared between guests. And it kind of gets to these situations where, the question is, I mean, there are all kinds of safety protocols that need to be followed, but you also have to have decently trained employees.
Yeah.
And then some of these, so that one was in Colorado. The other one, though, was in Mexico. And a lot of these are, like the one I was on was in Costa Rica. And it's very probably different safety standards in certain maybe third world countries and that sort of situation.
I was going to say, I feel like they're, especially in those different countries, like the odds of them being not fully trained or the hardware not necessarily being up to date or up to safety protocols are more likely, if not probably happening.
Yeah. But I mean, just looking through these, there were some other ones like in various situations, like the trees that they're attached to have collapsed. There was another one where there were these big poles that came down. And then another one, actually, well, this was a 2013 one, but it just kind of rang the bell with the thing that had happened to us in Costa Rica, where a woman came crashing into the platform, numerous fractures, multiple surgeries.
So what happens in these cases? Are they suing the zipline establishment? Because I know you do sign a waiver when you do these things, which is supposed to protect them, but I'm assuming when it's this extreme or...
Well, so, and I mean, we really don't plan these questions, but I thought, okay, the logical question is going to be, don't people sign waivers, and what does that mean as far as lawsuits? And so it's a good question because they always do have you sign these waivers. I mean, basically anything you do these days, they're having you sign a waiver.
Yeah.
And in fact, I remember at one point, I think it might have even been, it was one of the earlier trips that Peter and I took, and they were giving us the waivers, and he's like, "Oh, you're a lawyer. Why are you signing this?" And I said, "Look at my signature," and it said Minnie Mouse.
Oh, really?
Yeah, so he signed Mickey.
Can you do that? Is it just-
Here's the thing: the employees are not even freaking looking. They don't. I mean, again, these people are not well trained, and a lot of the places, the employees are going to be very well. They're trained. They're going to be looking at your license. They're going to be checking that sort of thing. But one of the issues, waivers of liability sometimes are enforceable, but it's strict, and this can vary from state to state as well. Mm-hmm. But one of the, it has to be very specific. It has to be clear that you understood what risks you were taking. Mm-hmm. Any kind of intentional acts or sometimes gross negligence are not going to be covered. But a lot of people, and I think one of the reasons that everybody has you sign these waivers is that the average person thinks, well, I signed the waiver, I can't do anything. Yeah. And so they don't talk to a lawyer, they don't try to pursue it. But the reality is that many, many times you can get out of that waiver. You can still file a lawsuit. So it's always a good idea to talk to an attorney, to get a copy of the waiver, take a look at it if you actually signed your name to it.
Yeah. Well, and then so if you didn't sign your name, but they have a recording of you signing it, just not your name, is that count or?
Well, it's arguable again. Yeah. And I mean, did they adequately explain what, and so do you ever see anybody sit and actually read it either? I mean, they're in a big hurry. They're trying to strap you into these things. They're showing you how to do this. They're like, here, sign here. They almost don't give you the opportunity. And if you ask them, and of course, me being the obnoxious lawyer that I am, will sometimes say, well, tell me what the risks are. Oh, it's fine. There's no problems, really. We've never had an accident, la, 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 la. And again, if they're recording that will be problematic for them.
And I mean, it sounds kind of similar to like terms of use when you buy a new phone or you sign up for some type of subscription, and they, it makes you scroll down to the bottom, but no one's actually reading that. I mean, you got to be psychotic or what's it called when you want to inflict pain on yourself? Masochistic, yeah, to be reading those things.
Yeah. So anyway, but it always makes me think too. Well, for example, we went to the fair back, in April, and I mean, I love the fair mostly for the fudge and the cotton candy, which is horrifying, but I love it. And like those rides, I mean, you look at these rides and you know that they were like put up in like 2 hours and they're like yanked down in 2 hours and then driven
Yeah.
to the next place.
I can't stand Carnival. That's a big thing. I didn't even realize this as a kid. But when you see those big trucks coming in and they literally just have people like college students throwing them together and with the same exact bolts and screws, what if one goes missing? Well, I mean, we got to open up in an hour. What can you do?
Well, and the fact that you say college students, okay, I've never seen somebody who looked like a college student running one of these rides. I mean, they're like carnies. I mean,
Yeah.
these are people, I mean, they travel along. And I mean, I don't know what kind of pride in their work they have, but it doesn't appear a lot. They're certainly not particularly friendly or helpful or anything like
Well,
that.
even, I mean, no matter how much pride you have, everyone has bad days. There's days where you just don't feel like going to work or doing
Like
work.
screwing the screw in tight
Yeah.
and making sure that.
Exactly. Like some people that work from home, like, they just have Netflix open on the other monitor. They skip a few meetings, what it is. But when they are having a bad day, these carnies are having a bad day. And with that, if
hit the
you're,
fan.
yeah, exactly. If you're cutting corners, that could be pretty
Uh-huh.
bad.
Well, and that's an interesting aspect too, because on those rides, you're not signing a release each time.
Yeah.
But what they do are those little tickets. Now they used to be like the little paper tickets, and now it's all automated.
Mm-hmm.
And so all of the teeny tiny. It's saying you're accepting all of these risks. But again, you don't read it, you don't sign anything. There's nothing even remotely enforceable about something along those lines. But again, certain people, I mean, initially after an accident, they're told, well, you signed a waiver or you agreed to, to this or to that, or, you gave up your right to sue. Don't believe the person who hurt you that you don't have a right to sue. That's
Yeah.
crazy. You need to talk to an attorney under those circumstances.
If there's anyone that's going to lie about it, it's probably them. But this does remind me of a story. This happened so long ago. I don't know if you remember this, but I think this was at Six Flags. And the ride where you sit, it's like a square and everyone sits around it and it takes you all the way up to
Oh,
the
and
top.
it drops?
And it dropped, but a cable broke off. And I don't know how this happened, but it broke while it was going down and went around a girl's arm, tore it off, clean
Oh
off.
my God.
Yeah. I mean, this was a long time ago.
So this was just a story you heard. You weren't there or anything.
No, oh my
Okay.
God, that would be traumatic. Yeah, the arm flew right next to I was eating a turkey leg and it hit my table. I was shocked. I didn't know if this was part of the experience.
It's funny that you mentioned that ride, though. I mean, it's not funny, the story, but I remember back at, what was it? It was the carnival that's put on by the U of A here, Spring Fling,
Yeah.
that you were desperate to go on that ride, and there was no way I was going on it with you, but you did go on that thing.
Yeah.
And I let you, and that's probably maybe a poor parenting.
I mean,
decision
if
at
you
the
got,
time.
I think it's always a great decision. You got to let your kids experience the world a little bit. Hopefully, they don't lose a limb.
I was going to say, hopefully you don't lose
Fingers
the limb.
crossed. But at that point, hopefully you didn't sign a waiver. And even if you did, then you can still got
Yeah.
courses, actionable courses that you can take.
Well, it was just in the news the other day, and before I saw these, there was a story, and luckily nobody was hurt, but it was one of those roller coasters where it's like the circle, they go upside down, and it got stuck upside
Oh
down
my
with
God,
everybody
yeah.
hanging, and they were hanging there for like multiple hours.
Jesus
But,
Christ.
I mean, other than being completely traumatized, they did get them down and took them all to the hospital to be checked out, but physical injuries, apparently there weren't any significant physical injuries. So I think it's kind of ruining my fun at this point. I just don't want to go on these things anymore.
Well, speaking of waivers, and I know that there's some other stuff you want to get into as well, so this might burn a little bit of time. We can skip it, but it's been all over the news. It's the Titanic sub.
Oh my gosh.
And, they probably signed waivers going down there as well, which I don't even understand what the appeal of that is. I mean, I saw the thing. It's like
my
a tiny
gosh.
window being that deep underneath, packed into a small thing with like 5, 6 smelly men. No, thank you.
Terrifying. On that, I mean, it's a really good question. But one of the things that was really hit on in the news was how much they made clear to the people that this was experimental, and that there are all of the risks. And I know that a couple of stories I read that said that the risk of death was like huge and highlighted.
Jesus.
So yeah, which it needed to be. But I would still say that again, it depends on exactly why this happened and did they have any particular information. I think they were saying that there were certain lights, or there were a lot of stories from people who had been on it before, and certain lights were lighting up, then they were saying, oh, this was a malfunction. So if they were aware of certain malfunctions and they hadn't addressed those, that might be a way to get around it. But as far as waivers go, that was going to be a pretty good one. And I think that those people knew that it was super risky to get in there.
Well, there's a really old video that surfaced too of the creator of it talking about like how they produce and everything, and the pressure, vault thing. That was something that was really official, and they had a lot of engineers come in. But there's a lot of other aspects that they just winked, and they actually got a Amazon controller, like a video game controller, and
Like a overnight delivery Amazon?
Yeah, and they connected up, and that was one of the ways that they controlled it.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, and you can see it like in pictures of the actual device. There's just a wired controller in the middle of it, and there's pictures of the wreckage at the bottom, and you can see the controller still there.
Wow.
Yeah.
I've seen those. Yeah.
Insane.
Scary stuff. Well, yeah, I cannot even imagine. I mean, I'm also a little bit claustrophobic. I found it recently, so I definitely wouldn't have been getting in that thing.
Yeah, I'm terrified of like deep sea as well. The ocean is just a terrifying idea to me. Like it was a statistic. We've only discovered like 5, or I think it's like 3 or 5% of the ocean. There's like over 90% of it that we just know nothing about.
Well, I know enough, and there's plenty of sharks in there, which have apparently been making like a big showing this past 4th of July weekend all over the East Coast. There's like videos of, in Florida and New York, Fire Island. I mean, all the people out there, and then there's big fins just dun.
Well, there was that one video of the high schooler that was committed to a D1 baseball school, and they were on a cruise, and his friends dared him to jump off the edge of the cruise into the ocean, and this was at night too. And a lot of people saw him jump, and he jumped in, and they threw the buoy, and he started swimming towards the buoy, but then turned around and swam away, and everyone was confused. They couldn't find him. They went on a 2-day search, and then he was pronounced dead or lost at sea. But there was a video of it, and they zoomed in, and they could see that it looked like there was a fin that popped up right next to the buoy, which is why they think he started swimming towards it and then turned around to swim away from the sharks. And then the Coast Guard also came out and said that area is very prevalent for sharks.
God. I mean, just what an idiot, though.
I mean, jumping into the middle of the ocean at night, I can't think of anything more terrifying. That is horrendous.
Well, and it's a huge, crime as well. I mean,
massive cruise. Like, it's not like they can just throw the anchor
like
down.
International maritime law violations and all kinds of craziness.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah. Well, okay. We've gone over a lot of topics.
A lot of interesting things.
We should probably hop into updates on cases.
Sure. Well, a couple quick updates. And one involves the social media lawsuits that we've talked about, and that we've been involved in those. And this one kind of jumped out at me because it involves a school district that is joined into the lawsuit. So there are individual parents of children and the minors who have been affected, but then there's also school districts who are joining in these lawsuits against the social media companies. And so one was the Montgomery County Public Schools, which actually, when I grew up back in Maryland, I went to the Montgomery County Public Schools. I was in that system, so it was kind of interesting, and it's Maryland's largest. So they've jumped in. They're expecting, I think there's about 500 districts that are already participating in the lawsuit, and they're expecting, hundreds more to jump in. And so it's just a slightly different angle. Individual people who have been injured are making claims for their damages, but the school districts also are saying, hey, this is a huge issue for us. These students, I mean, they are really suffering. There's all sorts of mental illness. There's eating disorders. There's all of these things. It's interfering with the ability for us to teach these children, and we're incurring a lot of costs, and we need to be able to provide resources within the school district. And so because you've now caused this problem, social media companies, you need to compensate us so that we can help these kids. So I thought that was just an interesting, another angle to this whole big, crazy mess.
Well, it makes sense too, because I mean, especially at a lot of these public schools where there's just so many kids, and it's really easy to kind of fall off into the background. And these problems are so serious and scarring and life-changing at times. that it's impossible for these schools to have the resources necessary,
Yeah.
especially with only state funding.
Right.
And it seems again necessary for them to receive some type of outsourced funding to
Exactly.
even attempt at attacking this problem.
Yeah, exactly. So that's going to be a big aspect of it for sure. I just thought it was kind of interesting that my old school district is jumping in.
And do you think more school districts will be joining?
Oh yeah, absolutely, absolutely. I mean, there isn't a school district out there that hasn't
Exactly.
been affected. I can't even
Yeah.
imagine. So that should be interesting. And when one other update we had talked about the last time about the PFAS contamination and that there was the big settlement. But the one company that had not yet settled was 3M, and then 3M has ultimately jumped in with a $12.5 billion settlement. So this is with regard to the water contamination. There are individuals who have been exposed to these forever chemicals in the water who are experiencing cancers, thyroid issues, that sort of thing. And then also the individual water districts are now having to come up with new ways to clean the water that they're providing to their customers. And so that's a huge expense for them. And then along with that, they're also saying that 3M will no longer even manufacture PFAS by the end of 2025. So, I mean, this stuff is out there, and it's called forever chemicals for a reason. It's going to be around forever. But at least we're not going to, or not me personally, but they will not be producing this any longer after 2025. And hopefully part of this settlement will allow the various water districts to ensure that the water is appropriately filtered and cleaned, and to hopefully start reducing the exposure in the future.
And you said it was 12.5 billion. That's so insane. It's just such an indescribable amount of money, and 3M seems to kind of have their hands in every pot over here.
Yeah, their heads in a lot of pots.
Yeah, they're getting
Definitely.
hit
They
back
got
to
the
back.
earplugs, they've got the bear huggers. You know, they make our nice little stickies. Luckily, nobody's been killed by the stickies lately, but everything else seems pretty dangerous.
Well, how the hell are they like staying in business? I mean, someone's got to be like, come on, guys, like you gotta clean something up here one of these days.
Well, they're making so much money selling all of this horrible stuff that they have plenty of money to pay for, when ultimately they get called out and get
Yeah,
caught.
which is, I mean, that's a statement in its own, right? They are making so much money that they're able to continuously have these million and billion dollar settlements, and just it's still profitable to keep on going.
Oh, yeah, yeah. I mean, unfortunately, that's the case with a lot of these big companies, the drug companies and the product companies. So. Crazy stuff.
We are kind of coming to a close here on the hour. I don't know if there's some final topics or things that you definitely want to cover this show, and then we can definitely give it a little teaser for next week.
Yeah, so we did actually mention the last time that we were going to be talking about Ozempic, and Ozempic is kind of a big and hot topic right now because everybody is just going crazy and wants to use it off-label for weight loss. So, perhaps we can talk about it briefly and maybe get back into it again a little bit more next week if that makes more sense. We don't want to drag this out too far. But
Well, I think the Ozempic is a really interesting one because there's so many accusations being thrown around how it's like the Hollywood drug. You know, there's all of these actresses that are going through massive changes and massive weight gains or weight losses, I guess. And also the side effects are insane for them. I mean, you really got to be sacrificing, putting your body on the line for, this visual look.
Well, yeah, absolutely. And this drug is out there for a reason, and it's for people who have type 2 diabetes. And one of the big critiques, of course, is that all of these people are using it off-label. And it's very expensive. I mean, if you don't have insurance, it's going to be, I think it's like $1,200 or $1,500 a month for the injections. But people are just buying it up like crazy. And so the people who actually do need it for a medical condition are unable to get it. And the reality is that it actually, it is a risky drug. But with any drug, there's a risk-benefit analysis. And so you look at what is the problem that you have, the reason that you are taking the drug, and do the risks the benefits of this drug outweigh any potential risks? Mm-hmm. And so, it's a very different analysis when you're using it solely, for a cosmetic, for something that basically you can do. You can lose, everybody can lose weight without a drug. It's not very pleasant because, you can't eat certain things and you gotta exercise and blah, 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 everything that we're told constantly. But, it's if you want to go for this quick fix, and again, it doesn't even work for everybody. That's the reality of it. Very expensive, but quick fix. And you're going to take some really serious risks. And one of the problems that people are having are gallbladder issues. And there are actually lawsuits pending right now because the warning is not considered to be sufficient for the gallbladder problems. And a lot of people are having to actually have their gallbladders removed, which is, again, it's a surgery. There's risks inherent in any surgery, but there's also long-term consequences of not having a gallbladder and limitations on things that you can eat and that sort of thing.
This might be a silly question, but I've never known the answer to it. What does the gallbladder do? I think it's one of the funniest named organs in the body.
Yeah, it actually, and I'm going to give you the exact description because it has to do with the bile processing.
Oh, jeez, yeah. I mean, the name gallbladder sounds grimy. There's some grimy stuff going on in that organ.
Yeah, let me give you the actual details.
But it sounds like it's not super essential if they're able to just kind of take it out, like an appendix type situation.
Yeah, so basically the gallbladder it's a container for digestive fluid, basically bile, and that releases into the small intestine. And so sometimes the initial problem is gallstones, and those can block the tube that leads out from the bladder. The bile accumulates, and that inflames the gallbladder. And if you don't treat it quickly enough, you can have a gallbladder rupture, which can be life-threatening.
Yeah.
And they say that actually, if you don't have your gallbladder, the liver can handle some of that. But I know I was handling. It was one of the birth control litigations a few years ago, and one of the problems was that people were losing their gallbladders, and it really restricted their diet. I mean, they couldn't eat anything like the things that you love, like the fast food stuff. Anything that's greasy.
In-N-Out, baby, every time, every day.
In-N-Out's going to be off of off of the list. So, although if you can't eat In-N-Out, that's going to go a long way, maybe to the weight loss as well.
That's true.
So who knows? But I mean, really, and we can hit on this a little bit more next week too, because it is a really hot topic, and there are some kind of even cosmetic side effects that are happening that people don't like going along with this. And so there's some real reasons to seriously think twice before you use this just as a means for weight loss.
Yeah, I mean, that makes sense. I'm definitely interested to get into it. I know that there's a lot of side effects, and it is, like I said, the Hollywood drug, which I think is so...
Yeah, TikTok. I mean, that's what, that's where people, get their news and these before and after, and that's just nuts.
Yeah, and gallbladder, I feel like it's not one of those organs you really hear about being problematic very often. Liver, kidneys, I feel like those are kind of the basic ones. But rupture, I mean, anything that's rupturing in your body is
you can die.
terrifying.
Well, and the other thing too about this is just that, this is it's a medication for a very specific issue, and people are using it off label. And when people start, and again, these are relatively newer medications, so we don't even know what all the complications are. But I think we're damn sure going to find out when not only are people using it, I mean, they can't produce this stuff fast enough. I mean, that's why there's a shortage. People want it so much, so people who need it literally cannot get it.
And it's not over the counter, right? So there's doctors that are knowingly prescribing
There
this.
are doctors, and there are people online who are saying, they will write you the prescription for it. It's kind of questionable, but a lot of people are getting it online, and I don't know exactly how that works, but in theory, without a prescription. But I mean, there's always circumstances where you'll get this, you'll have a telephonic consultation, and certain doctors will give you a prescription based on that.
It's like a marijuana card.
Yeah, I was going to say, like the chiropractors are giving you the,
It's like,
exactly.
I got back pain. Oh, shit.
Well, I mean, so I think that's a lot of how they're getting it. But really, again, now that so many people are using it, I think we're going to find out what the real issues are.
Yeah.
And there probably are other things. Again, a newer medication. I'm never a big fan of those newer medications because you don't know until a lot of people try it. And gallbladder is bad. That's not a problem I would want to have. But who knows what else is going to come out of this? So we'll just have to kind of wait and see.
Yeah, I mean, with so many people using it too, the issues that should be minute or very low odds of.
We're going to see a lot.
Exactly. It just kind of happens. And then, like you said, I'm sure a lot of these people don't even really know what the risks are. They just want to lose a few pounds and kind of easy life hack there.
I know. So we're going to have to tie this up pretty quickly so that I can get on my treadmill, because I can't just go get a Wegovy shot or an Ozempic shot. I'm going to have to really put in the work here in the sweat, I guess.
Watch the calories, skip out on the sugar, chocolate. Yeah, no, I feel you.
Oh, and I actually do have a little birthday cake for you still, too. So I know.
All right, awesome. Is there anything else that we're going to be going into next week? I mean, overall, I feel like these shows are a good time. I was a little sad last week that we missed it. I was looking forward to this week. Nice little update.
Yeah.
Just checking in with everyone as well.
Yeah, well, definitely. But I know that people were anxious to hear about the whole monkey situation, so I'm glad we got that covered, got that update out. I mean, there's always things. I have plenty more things to talk about. So we will. Well, next week we'll talk about a different type of hernia mesh, and maybe jump into the Ozempic a little bit more also. And who knows, in a week, what else we could find out about Ozempic that we don't even know today. I mean, it's a hot thing, and things are changing by the day. And hopefully all those monkeys will be out of their barrels.
Yes, exactly. I know. I'll definitely I'll send Fern a few pictures, Skelly King and all that, so everyone can kind of take a look at it. I mean, it's some crazy ideas, but glad to give an update. And if anyone has any questions about anything.
Yeah, really anything. Obviously, we'll talk about anything.
I know.
I mean, somehow it kind of gets, there's some legal aspect to it somewhere. We'll figure one out.
Yeah, it always ties together one way or the other. But yeah, thank you everyone for tuning in this week. Another week of prioritizing profits. If anyone has questions, like I said, just throw them in the comment section, Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, whatever you need. We're all there. We're everywhere.
We are everywhere.
But yeah, thank you for tuning in, and we'll see you next week. Prioritizing profits.
Dangerous drug and product cases.